They always find me when they're desperate. People don't come looking for someone like me unless the missing person is already presumed dead, or something worse. This time it was a wiry man named Halden who found me at a gas station just off Route 6. He didn't bother with pleasantries. He just handed me a photograph of his daughter and a handful of cash. She went to Greystone Hollow, place up in the pines where artists go to, I don't know, paint sunsets and eat mushrooms or whatever the hell they do. I got one call from her. That was 3 weeks ago. The photo showed a young woman in her 20s, smiling in that effortless, unguarded way people do when they think no one's watching. On the back, her name, Callie, was written in fading pen. And you think something happened to her? I think something's hunting them, he said, and I think it paints. Greystone Hollow wasn't on any map. I had to follow Halden's scribbled directions for an hour past the last paved road, then hike 2 more hours on foot through bramble-thick woodland. The deeper I went, the quieter it got. Birds stopped singing. Even the wind held its breath. When I found the commune, it didn't look like the aftermath of a party or even a panic. It looked curated, like the people had stepped out for a moment and just forgotten to come back. Easels stood like skeletons in the tall grass, each with half-finished canvases. Brushstrokes arrested mid-movement, as if frozen by a sudden hand. The cabins were unlocked. A mess of paintings covered the walls, every one of them a portrait. Dozens of different faces, some smiling, some vacant, some twisted in a scream that almost looked like a mirror of my own nightmares. One of the paintings still had a name scrawled on the bottom in chalky white, Callie H. She was sitting in a wooden chair, eyes staring forward, but something about her face didn't look quite right. The smile was too still, the pupils too wide. The longer I looked, the more certain I became. She wasn't painted as she was. She was painted as she was going to be. As dusk fell, the shadows inside the cabins stretched longer than they should have. I lit a flare and walked the perimeter. There was something in the trees, not movement, stillness. Something so perfectly still, it disrupted the natural rhythm of the forest. That's when I found it. A freshly nailed canvas on a tree just outside the clearing. The paint was still wet. It was me. My face twisted in panic, mouth stretched open in a silent scream. My jacket, my scars, even the faded patch on my left shoulder, all exact. But I hadn't made that face, not today, not ever. I spun around. The trees were quiet again, too quiet. Back in the lodge, I flipped every painting face down and barricaded the door. I tried to convince myself it was just a prank, maybe some deranged artist left behind with a flair for performance horror. But at 2:14 a.m., I woke up to a sound like bristles dragging across canvas. Not outside, inside. I grabbed my rifle and flashlight and swept the room. Nothing. Then I turned and saw the last canvas I'd flipped earlier. It had been turned face up again. A new stroke of red now trickled down its painted cheek, and that's when I realized I was being studied, observed, sketched in real time. It wasn't just hunting me, it was learning me, preparing its next masterpiece. I didn't sleep after that. When morning bled through the pine canopy, I left the lodge and started moving. deeper into the woods, where the air felt heavy and metallic, like the breath before a thunderstorm. I wasn't tracking footprints. Whatever this thing was, it didn't leave any, but it left marks. Tree trunks carved with claw patterns, 3 parallel gouges, each at least a foot long, too precise to be natural. At the base of one tree, I found a smear of paint, rich crimson. I touched it, still tacky. It wasn't blood, not quite, but it had a smell, like iron and varnish, like something was mixing flesh and oil. Farther in, I stumbled across a makeshift lean-to, half collapsed under the weight of pine needles. Inside there was a journal, water-damaged but legible. Pages were filled with increasingly erratic handwriting. We thought it was a spirit of inspiration, a muse. It came in dreams first, whispered ideas, then faces. We gave it what it wanted, portraits, but it started correcting them, taking over the brush. Then people started to disappear. You don't find bodies. You find paintings. I kept moving, deeper still, until I found a small open grove, sunlight pouring in through a hole in the canopy. Easels stood in a rough circle like a ritual site. One was different, newer, too clean. A white canvas, blank, except for a few faint outlines. A jawline, a scarred eyebrow. It was beginning another one. Another me. A chill ran up my spine, and that's when I heard the whisper, not a voice, but the sound of paint being smeared. Wet, fast, hungry. I turned. The trees were still, but now I could see it, hidden just beyond the sun's reach, crouched low in the brush. At first I thought it was a man, but men don't have elongated limbs jointed like mantis arms. They don't have bristles for fingers, each one trembling with anticipation. They don't have faces stretched like canvas over bone, with eyeless sockets dripping black. And they don't hold pallets made from ribs. It didn't chase. It didn't need to. I backed away slowly, rifle aimed, and when I blinked, it was gone. Just gone. The blank canvas still stood behind me, now, with a mouth, open and screaming. I returned to the lodge as dusk fell again, breath ragged, mind reeling. I needed to prepare, traps, bait, fire, something. I wasn't just hunting anymore. I was being composed, one stroke at a time. I dug through drawers, cabinets, closets. That's when I found a second journal, this one hidden beneath a loose floorboard. If it finishes your portrait, you vanish, not just your body, every part of you. Gone like smoke. It doesn't want to kill you. It wants to remember you perfectly. The only way to stop it is to destroy the portrait before the final stroke. The brush is flesh, the paint, memory, the canvas, your soul. I felt it then, a stabbing pressure in my chest. I tore open my shirt and found something that hadn't been there before, a smear of paint just above my heart, in the shape of a rough circle, wet, still drying. It had touched me. I turned toward the window and saw it, standing just at the edge of the tree line, not moving, watching. Its arms were lifted, and in its hands, a canvas, and on that canvas, me, from this very moment, shirt torn, eyes wide, staring back from the other side. It hadn't come to kill me tonight. It came to observe, to paint from life. And if I didn't stop it soon, I wouldn't be life anymore. Just a work of art. There was no time for sleep. I could feel it, some presence tightening around me, like the final thread of a noose. My portrait was nearly done. I didn't know how many strokes were left. I only knew that when the last one was made, I'd vanish. So I did what hunters do. I followed the trail, through the pines, deeper than any map allowed, until the ground grew soft and black, like it had soaked up too much blood to remember being soil. The trees thinned, and then the earth opened up. A massive fissure stretched before me, its sides carved like ribs from the forest floor, descending into darkness. It was a studio, a den, a grave. I climbed down. The tunnel walls were smeared with pigment, not just red, but yellowed whites, oily blacks, browns the color of rotted teeth, all of it layered thick on stone, like the beast had been wringing color from marrow and muscle. Then I saw them, the portraits. Hundreds, maybe more, hanging from vines like a grotesque gallery, faces twisted in agony, others stuck in peaceful smiles. Some of them blinked, some breathed. I passed a portrait of Callie. Her eyes were moving. Tears ran down the canvas, soaking the floor beneath her feet. When I reached for her, the painting flinched. They were still alive in there, trapped. I forced myself to look away, and then I heard it, the sound of brushes stroking canvas. It was here. I turned and saw the beast. No longer hiding, no longer lurking. It was fully illuminated by the phosphorescent glow of its own paint, pale blues and reds pulsing from its arms, casting a sickly light over its twisted form. Its body was a parody of an artist, limbs stretched and jointed like paintbrushes, spine arched like a gallery easel. Its back quivered with every breath, muscles twitching under parchment-thin skin. Its face had no mouth, just the suggestion of one, as if it had been painted on, then erased. Its arms raised slowly, a fresh canvas between its hands. My face stared back at me, almost done. One brushstroke left. I fired. A shot straight through the canvas. The painting exploded in a cloud of wet ash and paint chips, screaming in a voice that wasn't mine, but could have been. The beast staggered. It hissed, not a sound, but a vibration. It convulsed like something unraveling, and in that moment of weakness, I struck. Fire, salt rounds, steel. I gave it everything. It collapsed. The cave began to tremble. Painted faces cried out as the gallery walls shook and cracked. Canvases burst into flames or crumbled into dust. Some whispered thank you. Others simply screamed. I climbed out as the lair collapsed behind me, choking on smoke and the scent of drying oil. When I emerged into daylight, I found myself back at the edge of the commune. But it was different now. Empty, truly empty. I burned what was left. The lodge, the easels, the woods were silent again, but this time not with dread, just silence. I thought it was over, until last night. A package arrived on my doorstep. No name, no return address. Inside was a canvas, half-finished, rough outlines. A new subject, Callie's father, staring straight ahead, eyes vacant, mouth slightly open, and scrawled beneath it, in brushstrokes I've come to recognize, practice never ends. I don't think I destroyed it. I think I inspired it. And now, it's looking for new subjects, one portrait at a time. If you're still breathing, go ahead and like the video. Subscribe if you dare. There are plenty more nightmares waiting for you. And whatever you do, don't forget to ring the bell. It's the only way you'll hear the warnings in time.